Okay, today I have a repotting project. This is a Rhipsalis capilliformis, which is actually a Rhipsalis teres capilliformis. And it's in the same pot that it was in for the last 2 years from when I got it from a vendor on eBay. And I actually felt the soil and it's retaining a lot of moisture and sort of compacted. So what I'd like to do is repot this in some fresh mix. So I'm going to take it out of the pot, remove as much loose soil as I can, and refill it into the pot with some fresh mix. Now this plant, when I first received it, was doing beautifully, and I had it in a tree in the backyard, and for some reason the neighborhood birds decided they were hungry or thirsty or something. It was really in the middle of the heat of August, and birds actually pecked this plant down, like right to the soil line. So it's taken it a couple of years, 2 years to come back. A lot of the length was left on it, but there were a lot of places where it was just pecked completely back to the soil. Okay, so it doesn't look completely happy to me. It looks a little anemic, and I think having some fresh soil mix is going to make all the difference. So let's get started. So this plant has been in the morning sun spot on my front patio. I've removed the hanger. Pretty simple thing to do. We're going to remove this from the pot and take a look at the roots. We've got a little visitor back there watching our every move. So I've turned the pot on its side. I've moved as much as I can to one side, and the soil level is actually down a couple of inches, so it's compacted quite a bit since I got it. We're going to try to just gently remove the pot. And there it is. You can see the root system is good, but the soil is quite compacted, so we're going to try to loosen it up and repot it with some fresh mix. I had a feeling that the root ball might have been a little bit compacted, because whenever you see your plant sort of yellowing, that can be a sign that the roots are stressed. And these are definitely staying too wet. This is a really wet root ball. So we're going to loosen it up here. Kind of difficult because it's so compacted here. So I'm just sort of sticking my finger in here, loosening it up, trying not to make any major damage. But if I were to leave it like this, the roots would eventually suffocate and die, and we don't want that. So I'm just going to go around here and just gently work at it, kind of loosen it. And here's a little trick I learned from my African violets. Once you've got the soil loosened up, and I've removed about a third to a half of the soil already, but you can get a hose and kind of hose off the rest of the dirt. You want a pretty good stream, but not so strong that it does a lot of damage. And see, you can just kind of rinse that old soil right off there. Does a lot less damage than trying to do it by hand. If you leave your pot with this old soil, if you leave your plant with this old soil like this, it's going to eventually rot the roots and the whole plant will die. So you want to get this old stuff off of here. And you can see the water just really gently washes it away without damaging the roots too much. So I'm going to just continue here with both my hands. I'm going to come back when I've got most of this, most of the roots exposed and remove most of the old soil. All right, well, it seems like I've done a pretty good job of removing quite a bit of the soil that was surrounding these roots. We still have a good root system. The roots look healthy, but if I had left it in that other mix, the other mix was primarily bark, and the bark breaks down. There was not a lot of perlite in the mix, so I'm going to repot this with more perlite. Maybe 50-50 perlite and bark. Okay, so we just about, and then whatever bark fell into the plant, I'm just kind of rinsing it off here. Get the whole plant a little shower here. Won't hurt it. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to get my mix. I'm going to just put this right back into the pot that it was already in with some fresh mix. Here's the new mix that I'm going to be using. It's got quite a heavy percentage of perlite, at least 50% perlite, and some bark. And I've also got a little oak leaf mold. I've got a little bit of horticultural charcoal. Just whatever you have that's a nice, that'll make a nice porous mix without being too large of chunks of anything. No, not too huge of perlite or too huge chunks of bark, because as you can see, the plant has a very fine fibrous root system. Here we've got the original pot, and it's got quite a few holes on the bottom. I'm going to put some sphagnum moss, I think, on the bottom there, so let me run get that real quick. You can see it's just New Zealand sphagnum moss. It's dry at this point, but it'll become hydrated as we water the plant. So I'm going to just put some of this on the bottom to kind of hopefully prevent too much soil from escaping and prevent the soil level from going low real quickly. You know how soil will wash out of the pot? You could put a little layer of pebbles on the bottom here too. That would work. But I just thought I'd give a try with the sphagnum moss. I think that should be pretty good. Okay. And we're going to put I think I'll wet this down a little bit, and then we'll put the soil right on top. Set my nozzle to a shower setting. And I just put this mix in here dry. Okay, time to plop our plant right back into its pot with some fresh mix on the bottom. And here we are. Into its pot it returns. And we've got the plant back in the pot. Now we need to just fill in around the sides of the plant all the way around the pot with some fresh mix. So I can just gently move these branches to the side as I do that.
How's that?
That's good. Yep. And we're going to just do that the whole way around. All right, I've filled in all around the edges. Sort of let it settle in here a little bit. Fill in more as needed. I lost very few little bits and pieces, and these I can just stick back in the pot to make it a little fuller. That's about it. And I've got some washing to do before I hang this back up, and before I put the hanger back on, I'm going to just rinse it real well. All right, so I filled in all around the edges with new mix. I've kind of packed it down lightly with my fingertips. I'm going to have to fill in a little more in the back here. I'm going to just rinse the branches one more time, and we'll put the hanger back on and hang this up in the shade, and we're going to leave it and not fool with it. I'll water it initially to kind of dampen the mix, and then I'm going to leave it alone for a week or two to let it kind of dry, because if the roots are damaged, we don't want them to rot. We want them to dry a little bit, and then they'll start throwing out new growth. Okay, I'm just going to water this in a bit. Rinse my branches off. You can see they're kind of a pale color. And I think this repotting will sort of rejuvenate this plant. Okay. Looks good. Get the hanger back on and get it hung up. So here we are, back in the place of honor. Doesn't look any the worse for the wear. And I'm going to wait a week or so, I think, and then give you a follow-up video to show you how it looks. Using the sphagnum moss has prevented the potting mix from coming out of the bottom, so that's good. So I have a positive feeling about this. Can't wait to see how it does. We'll be back in a week or so. Here is our plant. It's been about a week since it's been repotted. I have not watered it again. I have a little bit of moisture that I can feel at the bottom here with the sphagnum moss that we put in the bottom of the pot. This has dropped a few of its clades, but not many. In general, it still looks pretty healthy. It looks hydrated. Even though these branches are rather thin and tender, this is a type of plant that can't go as long as some of the others without water. So right now I'm just giving the roots a little rest, letting them reestablish. I don't want to water this too soon, but I don't want to let it dry out either. So that is the situation here. Luckily we have some nice cool fall weather. You don't want to do this type of repotting in the cold winter or in the middle of the hot summer either. Fall and spring are generally the best times to do your repotting. And here in California, we have a nice long fall season, so I'm lucky there. Okay, so take care, and we'll see you all next time. Goodbye.